I'm so excited for you to hear today's episode where I am talking to Ladianne Henderson and Sheri L. Osborne of WoolTribe. This was such an inspiring conversation about how these ladies got started with their company, the mission behind their company. Something that really stood out to me is really building relationships with the people and companies that you source your products from. We go deeper there and why this is meaningful. There's also some really great marketing angles here. Of course, I'm coming in with the social and marketing sides of it, but really interesting conversations that we had around the supply chain or supply community. We also talk about the blockchain, about putting products on the blockchain, what the blockchain is, why you might put some of your products on there. I do believe that this is going to be a much bigger part of our future. So that's very interesting, something we haven't really talked about on the show yet. And I think you're just going to love these ladies, and you can tell how passionate they are and where their heart is. If you are a small indie boutique or a yarn store, you can sell their yarn as well. We link to all their information in the show notes, so you can go check them out there or on wooltribe.co. Before we dive in, here's a little bit more about my guests. Ladianne Henderson is the co-founder and creative director of WoolTribe, a Tory Burch fellow and a TKGA certified master knitter, which means she's one of 400 master knitters in the world. Pretty awesome. She's an art pop street gallery billboard artist, classes of 2015 and 2019, and an experienced business consultant and a Master of Fine Arts degree in interdisciplinary arts and a Bachelor of Science degree in communications, public relations. She's a powerhouse and so incredibly talented. And today, Ladianne is joined by her co-founder, Sheri L. Osborne, co-founder, COO, and CFO of WoolTribe, who has a proven track record in business development and nonprofit operations. She successfully developed a $110,000 business case for a nonprofit beverage truck to distribute school supplies, launched a teacher shopping program for over 190 schools, and significantly increased supply distribution through innovative process improvements. Both Ladianne and Sheri are passionate about artisanal, responsibly made in America fashion, which you'll hear about today. Get ready for a very interesting, inspiring conversation. Let's dive in. Welcome to Rooted in Retail. I'm your host, Crystal Vilkaitis. Here we have engaging and informative conversations with successful indie retailers and industry experts. Together, we learn, connect, and grow. Don't miss our live after the show every Tuesday night in the Rooted in Retail Facebook group. All right, here's today's episode. Ladianne and Sheri, welcome to Rooted in Retail. I'm thrilled you're here.
Thank you. We're thrilled to be here. I'm Ladianne Henderson, and I'm co-founder and creative director at WoolTribe.
And I'm Sheri Osborne, and thank you for this opportunity. I take care of everything to do with operations and finances, basically.
Okay, very good. This is fun to have two people. We're going to have a really great conversation today. We're new to each other, so this is going to be really fun because I get to learn a lot more about what you ladies are up to, and it's some really interesting things. So I can't wait for us to dive in and for our listeners to learn from your wisdom and experience. Before we do that, will you just take a couple minutes and share a little bit about how you got here and about your retail journey?
Oh my gosh. It's been a wow.
It's been a lot of fun.
It has been a lot of fun. I'll give you the most concise story I can, but it's like if Dorothy tried to tell you what happened on the yellow brick road in 2 minutes.
Exactly.
We decided in 2015 that we wanted to open a yarn shop for crafters, for knitters and crocheters, and wrote our business plan, knew that we wanted to have all American product. And that turned out not to be, it just wasn't feasible with what we were trying to do at the time. But we opened the yarn shop, opened the doors early 2017, had that shop for 5 years. And when the lease came up, our plan was to build a building, and financing buildings and the prices of materials and all of that made it not possible.
During the pandemic.
Yeah. We had a lot to build on, a vacant lot, but the building process just wasn't possible at that point. And so we've moved into a studio space and since consolidated our hand dyeing, which we started in late 2019, and our whole yarn and all of that under WoolTribe. And we also now do finished products, so accessories and so on. That's the story. It's a whopper to shove into a summary, but yeah.
And we started our hand dyeing yarn in our kitchen. And so it was awesome. We fed the yarn line right into our yarn shop. And so when we closed down our yarn shop, we continued to dye our yarn and strictly online. And it was still awesome and we loved it. And we were very limited on how we could grow because we were in our kitchen. And so now we're in a space, it's a warehouse space that looks like a commercial kitchen type setup. And so, yeah, we love being here and we're doing a lot of good stuff, adding on finished goods and wool and organic cotton products. It's growing and we're really aware of maintaining our growth. We're not maintaining, but
managing. We're managing it. We're
that's
being
it. Yeah.
patient. I'm sure we'll talk about the Tory Burch Foundation, but a quote that we say all the time now, Tory Burch said to our group when we went to New York that she has a patient brand. And we have really had to, sometimes through gritted tape, remind ourselves of
in
that.
order to have a patient brand, you have to be a patient human. So it's been a challenge and it's been fantastic self-awareness and it's been good. So
that is challenging.
Yeah.
I can relate to that. The patience aspect, I so understand the importance of it. And I love a patient brand. Looking through that lens is a good exercise, I think, for a lot of our listeners. So that's really cool. Yes. And I'm sure we'll get more into that too. So, and you sell online as well. So online and brick and mortar.
We do.
Okay. Awesome. And then what platform are you on for online?
We're on Shopify. And if everybody who knows Shopify knows that it's fantastic in a lot of ways and it has some challenges. We opted to put we call it apparel. So WoolTribe apparel, which is all of our finished goods and accessories, are on wooltribe.co. And we put our yarn and our fiber under wooltribeyarn.co because we hadn't at the time quite figured out for our target markets where they truly intersected and how to make that work for two, at least at first glance, very different target markets.
Yeah, that's a good point. I think it's smart to have those separate. It's the same WoolTribe brand, but having different places where the customer can really identify where they belong. So that makes sense.
Yeah.
Awesome. Okay, I want to know a little bit more about what motivated you to take your current path and how your retail experience has influenced your approach to fashion production.
Oh, wow. That's a fantastic question. Sheri will have to tell you about her upbringing, but the thing that caused us to pick the path that we're on, and I wouldn't say that it was completely evident at the outset. It's just part and parcel of our fiber as people, no pun intended. But Sheri came from a farming background and culture, and I started to realize as we got ready to open the yarn shop that my family is tied into wool for generations back. I have the branding iron that my grandfather used when he grew up on a sheep ranch in Montana, and it has his initials. And I know that's not the way things are done now, and I'm glad. However, I love having that piece of history, that piece of, our family's history. And so we were kind of being influenced toward all of this, whether we realized it, I think, or not.
We try to be very good stewards of the earth. And so we take care of best we can our planet and our environment, and we live a very authentic, genuine life. And there's a lot going on in our country, in our world. And so we wanted to basically reduce our carbon footprint and really encourage everyone that walks on our path with us or crosses our path the importance of that. So
yeah,
that's a very deep thought, but that's kind of, who we are, where we are.
right.
Yeah, it's
It's an important mission, that's
Yeah.
for sure.
And as a follow-on to what Sheri's saying, what she's referencing is the fact that over the course of time, we decided to go entirely into 100% US made product, fibers, all of it. So we have Shanico wool, which comes from a wool company, a co-op based in the western part of the United States. And now we have some US organic cotton product as well. And so we're staying true to domestic production that really reduces carbon emissions and carbon footprint, as well as natural fibers as much as possible.
Mm-hmm.
I think we only have one product now that has some nylon in it, and it's a sock yarn because people wear those out.
Plus you want slouchy socks.
With holes in them.
Right.
Yeah. So that's really where we are now, is doing everything we can to head in that direction.
Yeah. Oh, that's really cool. And thank you for doing that and doing what you're doing. I think it's pretty inspiring and we need it. And how interesting of both of your paths coming into WoolTribe and being here. I think that's pretty special and unique to the brand. So it's awesome.
Thank you for that.
Yeah. Okay, so when we were prepping for this, you were mentioning supply chain and kind of having a different view on it. And so you've mentioned the importance of relationships within the supply community rather than viewing it as a traditional supply chain.
Mm-hmm.
Will you share more about this and elaborate on how these relationships shape your business practices and the overall quality of your products?
Oh my gosh, this is it kind of gives me chills even to hear you talking about it, because there's something really magical about really getting to know the people all along the way whose hands go into making product. And it's kind of along the same lines of knowing where your food comes from, but beyond that, knowing who grew your food. And so we got very lucky in that when we started dyeing yarn, we asked our local mill, which we're actually driving there after this to pick up some product. But we asked our local spinning mill if they could do 100% US yarn that we could dye. And at the time, they didn't have it. This was 2019. And when they started producing that in 2020, we were their first customers. And at the time, the rep, Hannah, whom we love, she would drive the yarn to us, and she sat in our backyard with us on the deck when COVID was going on, 6 feet away, of course. She sat with us. And because of that and getting to know where that wool came from, we ultimately got to know Jeannie Carver. I ended up writing an article about her for a magazine, which resulted in having a conversation with her. And then we brainstormed. She put us in touch with the knitting mill. So the long and short is, as you start to do that and get to know people, collaborative opportunities arise. Tell me about the call we were just on this morning. If you're thinking about it. Oh,
I'm having a brain cramp.
we got on a Zoom this morning with
another mill. Okay, I'm sorry.
A fabric manufacturer, American fabric manufacturer. It was a really cool conversation because we happened to tell them that we're interested in white label manufacturing and dyeing for other companies, as well as continuing our own lines.
Hand dyeing and dabbling in cut and sew type products.
We now have a cut and sew contact who's amazing. And so we were telling them what we could do. And they said, oh, we're going to be at a trade show. And we said, why don't we collaborate and create a product that you can show in your trade show? And the cool thing about that is, all of the companies involved are women owned in this case, which I love. And B, we know every single person who will have been involved in the creation of those products to show at their trade show. And that to me is just, I mean, how often
It's
can
awesome.
you say that? It's amazing.
Not often. Like very rare.
Yeah,
Like very rare.
And, this really gets into being able to pick your own family. And so,
That's true.
we're handpicking our family, and it takes a village. It's a community effort, whatever you want to call it. We're really being mindful of who we work with, why we work with them. And it's
how we
really,
work with them.
it's really growing into a fantastic opportunity.
It is.
Yeah. And as you were talking about this and how you say supply community, I had this visualization of the roots of a tree, which is fun because this is called Rooted in Retail.
Yeah.
But it's the roots of what makes this beautiful tree. And it's the collaborative approach that you're taking that does really create something sustainable and strong that is unique that we don't always see in the marketplace. And I feel like it just makes it more fun and meaningful to do business. Like we work so many hours in our businesses. Let's get to know the people that are making these products and the people, our reps. I actually have an interview later today with a rep. We're going to be talking about the powers of reps, and relationship building. And there's just so much more that I think we can do. And I really encourage our listeners to just think about, are there those lines that you sell that you can pick up the phone, schedule a Zoom, get to know them more, go deeper, create meaningful connections, and then collaborations. And of course, because I come from the social media marketing world, I see a lot of content potential there too.
Yeah.
And that's the consumers, they want to see the behind the scenes. They want to see how the product is sourced. They want to go to the farm. They want the deeper meaning of what they're purchasing and the storytelling. And I just think there's a lot of opportunities for independence where big boxes, they just are not going to really be able to do something like that. I love your approach.
Thank you.
It's so good
to us.
Okay. So as we're discussing this, sustainability and ethical practices are obviously at the core of WoolTribe's mission. What are some of the biggest challenges you faced in maintaining these principles, and how have you overcome them?
Oh gosh, that's a great question. We're really fortunate in that in terms of the fiber that we source. So Shanico wool and also the organic cotton that we get, the sources of those fibers are all audited. And in the case of Shanico wool, they are double audited because they're audited under the responsible wool standard, which is independent third-party auditing that makes sure they're treating their people, animals, and the land with care. So that happens annually. I believe those audits are annual.
Yes.
And they write up reports on all the ranches that are involved. So I feel really good about that. And as far as the organic cotton is concerned, it is also audited. We get our fiber through the Texas Organic Cotton Organization. And so that is not an issue. I think for us, the challenges come in terms of balancing how we're dyeing and how much water we're using, and just it's less about making massive changes and more about really paying attention every single time that we're not wasting, that we're not being careless with, with the chemicals that we use, or even in the case of natural dyeing, some of the additives, and just being mindful all the time. That really, to me, is the biggest challenge, is really caring for the planet. People talk about it in terms of how are we going to fix everything? The real core of what we're going to have to all fix is our behavior. Because
it's all about slowing down. Everybody is like full throttle, full speed ahead, and you're just this one big machine that's consuming everything. Just slow down.
Slow down. And that's going to be
attention.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
That's a really good point. That's going to be the biggest challenge I think that most businesses are going to face. Is it's not about slamming in another solution. It's about, like you said, just slowing down on everything. And that's tricky. It's trickier than people think.
Oh, for sure. Very well. It goes back to that keyword patience also, like we were talking about earlier. And the slowing down, changing our behaviors. that is challenging for sure. And the self-awareness is the first piece of that. But I'm feeling a theme here of the patience, the slow down, the be mindful. It's so critical, I think, in all aspects, personally, business, professionally, from the environment standpoint. There's just so much that we can do. So yeah, that's awesome. Now, okay, so going back to family ties with wool and farming, how has your family's history influenced WoolTribe's values and product offerings? And do you incorporate any traditional techniques or philosophies into your modern business model?
I think in terms of things that influence us that come from our background, I think rather than influence, maybe the word for us is inspiration. More than anything, we had a conversation with Julie Hansmeyer. I was looking for a postcard that she sent us. She is one of the ranchers who's with Shanico Wool. And when we got ready to go to the Accessories Council trade show in New York City in May, we reached out to our supply community and we said, okay, we need some examples. This is actually pretty cool. We need some examples of wool all along the process and cotton all along the process, because we wanted to share with people at the trade show, this is what Gracie wool looks like, which that's when it's been shorn. Right after it's been shorn, it still has lanolin in it.
Imagine clippers going through the sheep wool and it falls off.
It's like straight off
pick
the
it
sheep.
up and there you go.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we reached out and lo and behold, one day a box appeared at our house and it was an entire fleece.
It was a larger box than we anticipated.
Yeah. But it was amazing. And as a result of receiving that, we're now talking with a magazine about taking that fleece through the entire process of getting it cleaned and combed and carded and spun into yarn and, all of that. So
take your fleece to work day.
Yeah, that will be, those traditions have stayed largely the same in terms of, other ways that we've been influenced. I mean, Sheri's whole point about being good stewards, that's always an influence. Does that answer your question? I don't know if we hit the whole.
Yeah, one thing too, I wanted to have you ladies talk about from the modern business aspect is some of your totes that you sell on, probably in person, but I see them on your site, is registered to the blockchain, which I feel like is a very modern thing that you're doing that I have yet to see a retailer that I know and talk to leverage the blockchain and use it. And I think it's really smart. I think we're going to see more of that. So will you talk a little bit about that too? Because we're going from like traditional farming to like the modern blockchain. So will you break down what that means and why you decided to do that?
Sure. Blockchain, for people who aren't familiar with it, it's basically a way of putting in a digital signature on every single item, a signature that cannot be replicated. So the way the blockchain works is basically every time somebody, for us anyway, every time somebody buys a bag, the bag is registered with a piece of data. That piece of data is unique to the bag, and it basically creates a way of tracking provenance of an item. So much in the way with artwork, although artwork has been forged a lot, but the provenance would be the story of how it went from one place to another. The blockchain does dual duty by verifying that the good is what the person selling it says it is, but then also telling you all the hands who've owned it along the way. So it secures the story of the item.
And
which I love.
I'm sorry. We had thought about doing that with our hand-dyed beanies and scarves, simply because if you're familiar with anything hand-dyed, it's unique. I mean, it's very easily one of a kind. We have many recipes that we use to create our colorways, but depending on our mood and depending on maybe the temperature of the studio or whatever,
how the water changes,
the chemical makeup in the water. So it's a city water, that municipality. So there's a lot that goes into creating a beanie or hand dyeing a beanie or a scarf. And so we'd started really talking about, we called them serial numbers in the very beginning. And then we kept having that conversation and it kept growing and growing. And then we worked with a nonprofit to create the bags. And Ladianne is an artist. And so, with her handiwork on the bags, we totally decided to implement the blockchain technology. So it's pretty cool the way it's working. Yeah.
It is really cool. It's just so unique. Like I said, I haven't really seen it, and I see such an opportunity, and I really do feel like we're going to see a lot more of this in the future.
Mm-hmm.
But it creates that digital kind of footprint of exchange of where the bag has been and the authenticity of it. Like you were saying, there's a lot of fakes. So if there's any retailers listening where you have one of a kinds or customs, I think this is such an awesome opportunity to look into adding it to the blockchain. I think your customers are going to think that's pretty cool if they get it, right? Like some of your customers might want to do some education there. But especially for the younger generation, I just think that they get it. They might even be looking for that. And it's such a cool thing that you're adding with these totes. So way to kind of set a cool, I think it's a standard that we're going to start seeing. And I love seeing it.
Thanks. I think it's
Look at the Gen Xers using blockchain.
Yeah, I think it's awesome. It's a consumer confidence thing. Look how many times you walk down the street in New York City, hopefully not in August or when it's 100 and something.
Or even May.
Ooh, yeah, it was hot. But look how many times you walk down the street and you buy Gucci, right? Which
from a vendor.
And this just kind of helps with the whole, no knockoff situation.
Right.
Too, so
we want the consumer confidence is so important, and there are so many choices, and there's so many ways people to buy from and products to purchase, and I think that the consumer is looking for something that is unique, that is authentic, that is different, that has meaning and purpose. And so if you have elements of that, you need to be talking about it on your sites and in your social and looking at the ways that you can integrate more of it possibly into your products, because it is certainly a way to stand out and more and more customers are going to look for it. That's for sure.
I totally agree. It's not simple, but I would definitely encourage anyone who's watching to check it out.
It's time consuming. And again, you have to be patient. You have to hit all those steps.
There it is again.
The process. So
yes. Yeah.
Really?
Well, that's good. That's a nice little warning for our listeners. It's not super easy. There's going to be a learning curve. It takes some time, but in certain situations can be really impactful to do. So that's awesome. Okay. Now, when we were prepping for this, you mentioned terrifying beauty of the work you do. Can you delve into what you mean by that and share some specific moments or projects that encapsulates this duality for you?
I think it comes down to, I was probably having a moment. I don't know.
I was going to say that's totally Ladianne.
Yeah, I was having a moment, and I'll tell you what I was probably thinking when I said that. I find the questions of sustainability truly terrifying, but the possibility of responding to those in a way that's both elegant and productive, a beautiful thing. So that I'm sure that's where my mind was at that point. The whole sustainability, the issue of the planet being taken care of is absolutely at turns terrifying and sometimes like horrifying the way things are. Yet I know that we all live in a system where in order to survive, you have to do a job, make a thing, sell a service, sell a product, whatever it is, you have to do a thing. And so it comes down to how do we do that in a way that when we go on to the great, sheep pastures in the sky, we can feel good about what we did.
We're turning into vegetable matter.
We will. Yeah.
Yeah. Yep. It's true though. It's true. And I think it's meaningful, and especially in retail. And I know we have listeners who do fast fashion and that does work for them. I think that there's opportunities in a lot of different ways, and it's an important conversation. And you're doing something that is, when you can be niche and focused, you're not doing it for the marketing aspect of it, but you're doing it for the meaning and cause behind it. But when you do that, it does help you find your audience. It helps you market easier. It helps move product and have people be a part of a movement. And so that's certainly something that you found that you're able to just really pull that out from within and create something that's meaningful for you. And again, I think it's very inspiring.
Thank you.
And gorgeous products too.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I think to your point about fast fashion, it's in the center of everything right now, right? Everybody's talking about that. And I think the biggest thing that I could possibly put out there in terms of that, and we try to be mindful of this ourselves, is if you're going to buy a thing, regardless of the source of the thing, envision yourself being in relationship with the thing. So even if it is something that you buy from one of the fast fashion places, buy it with the intention of keeping it for 10, 15, 20 years. And maybe consider that before you spend money on anything. That's how we go at it now, is regardless of the retailer, we try to think of it as a long-term commitment.
Oh my goodness. The feedback we're getting from our Evolve conference has been incredible. And if you want to be in the room, you're going to need to get your ticket pretty soon here, because we're already 30% sold out and it's mid-August as I am filming this commercial. I would love to see you at Evolve. This is the destination for resilient retailers, which I know is you. Our agenda, the things I'm working on for 2025 is so good. We're going to be really focusing on your transformation, customer experiences, both in store and online, how to really amplify results. You are going to walk away with actionable step-by-step strategies that you need to implement into your store to reach your goals and find new levels of success. And I'd be honored to be a part of that journey with you, as well as all of our incredible speakers that we have lined up. Like, seriously, it gives me goosebumps. I can't wait. So you could go to crystalmediaco.com/evolve to learn more, secure your ticket, be in the room. That's where the magic happens. And I can't wait to see you there. Yeah. Look at that. Through that lens, I think that is super helpful.
Yeah.
Now, ladies, are you ready for the resilience round?
I think I can. Yeah, we can do this. You got this?
Okay.
Good.
All right.
I'm good.
Let's
do it.
Okay.
Let's do it. Best business book.
Regenerative Business by Samantha Garcia. Also, The Big Leap by Gay Hendricks. And you liked
Smart Women Finish Rich by David Bach. So that back in the late 90s is when I started my landscaping business. And back in the day, you actually had to walk into a bookstore to do research. We didn't have the resources we have today. So that book, doesn't matter where you are in your life as a female, it is all about you need to know and you need to do this.
Love it. I haven't read that book yet.
Oh, sorry.
Money book. Yes, I'm going to have to check that one out.
Okay.
All right, here we go. Best retail technology, like an app or software.
Photo Room is fantastic.
Yep, that's a good
Photo
one.
Room is fantastic.
Yep. Okay, awesome. How do you keep up with the ever-changing retail landscape?
Lots of newsletters and articles and magazines and friends and conversation and research.
Yep. And the Retail Dive newsletter, if people, there's a whole series of dive newsletters about everything. Retail Dive is fantastic.
Okay, awesome. To help retailers be stronger, more rooted in success, what's a manufacturing foundational best practice?
Work in community. Just work in community with your suppliers. And for anybody in the supply community, think like a retailer. For retailers, think like your suppliers. Just try to get in other people's space. Understand.
Great advice. If you had to start your business all over again, what's one thing you'd do differently?
Oh, I got this one. Location.
Yes.
Oh my gosh.
Oh, yes.
Whether you're buying your space or you're leasing it, location is so important.
But I'm going to throw in not whether. If you can buy a building, if you can buy a location, make real estate part of your strategy.
Definitely. It is a fantastic investment.
It is. But location.
Yes.
Yeah. Also awesome advice. I agree. What do you think the future of independent retail looks like?
I think that retailers are going to have to get more and more nimble, creative. They're going to have to get more community focused, but they're also going to have to be really polished. I think the level of polish that a retailer exhibits is critical. So they got to do all of that more and more. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I so agree. And before we sign off, I want you to talk about the Tory Burch Foundation because you mentioned it earlier.
Yeah.
And Corrine Walsh, who has been on the show and how I met
love Corrine.
We love Corine so much.
Yes.
If listeners, if you haven't listened to Corine's episode, we'll link to it. Go back and listen to it. So it's gold. But please share. I don't know if that's how you met her, but I know she's involved in the Tory Burch Foundation. Will you share a little bit about that? Because it sounds pretty incredible.
Sure.
No, it's amazing.
It's been incredible for our business.
Yeah.
And the first thing I will say is about this, the Tory Burch Foundation is amazing and the Fellows Program is incredible. If you are a retailer or a business owner watching this, female, or maybe even more importantly, if you are a co-founder and your partner gets into the Tory Burch Fellowship, please see it as a fantastic opportunity for the whole business. It's not just for the person that gets in.
Definitely.
We've benefited greatly. So I met Corine through that. I was a 2022 inductee. When you become a fellow, you're a fellow for life. The program was started by the Tory Burch Foundation and Tory Burch, the woman that you know, the brand.
She badass.
Yes, she is a badass. But she started this to help women in business because women, clearly the playing field is not level for women in business. And she and her whole group of people are phenomenally supportive. You can go to the ToryBurchFoundation.org website, take a look at the requirements. They have an annual application period. You have to have been in business for a certain period of time. They ask that you have a certain level of revenue, but that's it. You go through a couple of rounds of interviews and that kind of thing, and then you get inducted, and the resources they offer you are amazing. I actually met Corine. It was funny. It was one of the last nights at our in-person in New York, and there was a cocktail party, and I'm an introvert. And so I was kind of, on the periphery, as it were, of this cocktail party. And Corine was standing there and we just started talking. And so we reached out to her after a while and said, look, we're trying to launch this new line of stuff. We were feeling a little less than, totally with it on that. So we were in a
place of being very overwhelmed.
Yeah. She helped get us out of that, and
she helped us eat
she guided us
one bite at a time.
She's a phenomenally organized, process-oriented person who also happens to be phenomenally intuitive. So she is that really special mix. So we recommend people working with her. But yeah,
so true. So true. I can't wait to check out Tory Burch because I haven't yet, but I've heard great things about it.
Oh my gosh.
Said great things. And then obviously Corine is great too. So thanks for sharing a little bit about that.
Yeah.
As well, how can people find you and learn more and connect with you?
Yeah, please check out WoolTribe.co. There is not an M on the end. WoolTribe.co or WoolTribeYarn.co. And you can shoot us a note. You can find us on Instagram as well. And we love to connect. Yeah, just shoot us a note and tell us.
Collab.
What you think? Yeah,
anything.
All of that.
Love it. It's so awesome. Thank you again for what you do. Thank you for sharing your wisdom and your story here. I really loved getting to know you ladies. So thank you.
Thank you for having us. Yeah.
Getting to know you as well.
Yeah, we appreciate it. Thank you for your time.
Awesome. Everyone, remember that I'm rooting for your success. Have a great week ahead. Bye.
Bye. Thank you.
Thank you so much for being here. It means the world to me. Don't forget to join the Rise and Shine newsletter, which is social media news you need to know sent via email every Monday morning. Go to crystalmediaco.com/rise to join. And don't miss the newest episode of Rooted in Retail, which drops every Sunday morning.